Alright, my G's, I'm in here ready to put in that work. It's time to go in for that tune-up. Time to get it popping. Let's get it. Time to put in that NWP spacing kit. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get into the nitty-gritties of it and pretty much give y'all that progressive look on how I get it piece by piece and show y'all how I go down. So of course, you know, when we get in here, we're gonna do the tune-up. Always gotta start by taking off that negative battery terminal. Definitely, you got that V6 3.5, you know, Nissan Maxima Altima Quest. Got a little cover panel. Want to take that off, which I already removed. As you can see, it's loose, it's off already. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of taking off this cold air intake. We're going to take that off. I'll get back at y'all, give y'all the vid on how it's really going down when it's time to get in here and unbolt this intake manifold. Alright, y'all. Alright, so like I said, we're going to get in here. We're going to take off this cold air intake. Start with the throttle body. Disconnect it by the CCV box. Then we're going to get in here and start dismantling all this good stuff on the intake manifold. So give me a few, I get back at you. Alright, so we got the main tubing that connects the mass airflow sensor to my cold air intake. We got that out, so now that we have that out, let's go ahead and start removing some of these bolts, vacuum lines, hoses, and solenoids that we have connected to this intake manifold. And let's get it popping, because I mean, you can see the 3 coils here, which have the 3 front spark plugs, but you don't see the 3 that's in the back under the intake manifold. So let me get y'all there, show y'all how to take that off. And you know, for the most part, I'm doing this by myself, one-hand bandit, so I do the best that I can with what I got, you dig? Alright, so now we got the vacuum off, solenoids off. These 2 are going to be a 10 millimeter, these here. If I'm not mistaken, these 2 are going to be a 12. These are going to be the 10s. So these are 12 millimeters that's in here. You're going to have 3 bolts, 2 screws. So, I'm sorry, 3 bolts, 2 nuts that you're going to have over here on the left and the right side of the intake manifold. I went ahead already and took off the bolts to my EGR valve. Took those off already. Now I'm going to get ready to actually loosen these other 2 bolts down here to the EGR. I don't know if you can see that right down in there. I'm gonna loosen those 2 bolts. Give me a little bit more playroom. Actually gonna get ready to go behind the intake manifold. And what you're gonna need to do is remove these vacuum lines. So I'm gonna get my trusty needle nose and hold those together and take those off. And once I take off this one and that one right there, those 2 will just be about good to go. Oh, they take off these 2 vacuum hose lines from here. So slow progress, but we getting it. Alright, so what we pretty much got going on is we got the EGR valve out. Bang. We got that out. 2 bolts to take it out. 4 in total, 2 at the bottom, 2 that go into the intake manifold. We get over here and show you the 2 hoses that I disconnected. As you can see, you gotta disconnect those hoses. And yeah, now we're gonna get ready to actually get in here and take this whole damn intake manifold out so we can get ready to do this spacer installation, do it right. And yeah, after that we're definitely gonna get down to the nitty gritty and get these coils and these spark plugs changed, and we're gonna get everything torqued down properly. So that's where we're at right now. We got those hoses out. Next hoses to get off is that one right here, and then I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's one right down there. That's a pain to get to. I'm sorry, this one right here in the back. Can't really get to it, but I'll point it out when I get this intake manifold out, and I get back to you. Alright, so we got the intake manifold off. Again, this is the killer hose in the back that's hard as hell to get to. And right here is your PCV valve. We got the 3 ignition coils right here in the back. And we're just going to take it another step further. Let's get this lower intake manifold out so we can put the spacing kit on and get it popping. Alright, another main thing, once you get that intake manifold off, you want to definitely make sure you have some clean shop towels. Definitely got those on deck. Want to make sure you have those so you can definitely keep anything from falling inside your intake manifold. Alright, so it's shaking, y'all. It's actually this bracket, I just loosened it. It's two 12mm bolts right down behind the EGR tube that goes into the rear header. So as you see, it's loose. I broke the bolts loose already. This is what I used just to give y'all a heads up that might help. Regular size ratchet, a small extension, very small extension, and a 12mm head. So that seemed to work. And yeah, we're just gonna take our time and get those rest of these bolts out. We're gonna reapply the RTV to both sides. We're gonna clean that up, get that clean, and get it in here, baby. Let's put this shit together and let's finish it up. So when you're putting in that NWP spacing kit, this is the infamous pain in the ass bracket that's heavy and hard as shit to come out. These are the two 12mm screws. They're gonna be on it like this, so it's gonna be facing you something like this. Get these in here. It's gonna be at the bottom like this in a hard to reach spot. So what you're actually gonna have to do is with that short head, reach around and get them from the rear. So that's the bracket. That's what it looks like out. There we go. Clearance free. If you got your NWP spacing kit, that's what you need to do. Please make sure you do it before you even get to any other step. Once you get the intake manifold off, that right there will be the bane to your existence if you think you can pass that step, not get it off, and then put everything else on. So definitely that's what it is. So let's finish this up. So when you do put your intake manifold back on, it'll secure in properly and sit properly. So just untying the 4 bolts for the fuel injector rail. We're gonna get started with taking off this lower intake manifold. Then give you some feedback once we get done with that. Stay tuned. Alright, so next thing I'm doing right now is I took those 4 bolts out, 12mm, that are holding in the fuel rails and the fuel injectors, fuel injector rails. Pretty much right now what I'm doing is I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna unscrew these 8 bolts. I don't know if you'll be able to see them, but there's 8 bolts holding down the intake manifold. I'm sorry, the lower intake manifold, and I'm just gonna have to get those out, and then I should be able to raise or lift the lower intake manifold straight up and rest it on the rear valve cover right here, and that should still give me enough space to work with the lower intake manifold. So let's do it. Alright, so after you move those 4 railing bolts and you move the four bolts and the 4 nuts that are holding down the upper the lower intake manifold, which is that right there. You're gonna have to disconnect the the 6 fuel injector connectors, these 6 right here. Now again, this is kinda not even the spark plugs, ignition coil getting to that yet, but we're putting in that NWP spacing kit, baby. So we're going all the way in. We're going to remove these old flimsy gaskets here. We're gonna put our silicone RTV black silicone on, get it popping, and right now I'm just gonna go and clean up these ports. See a lot of dirt, dust, and debris, so I'm gonna clean that up and show y'all what it look like once I get those spacers back on there so we can get it, baby. Alright, first spacer on. Now again, let me just go over and remind y'all real quickly that when you're putting the spacers on, right, the first thing you want to do, real talk, you want to wipe down the ports of the heads and the bottom of the ports on the lower intake manifold and remove any dirt, oil, and debris from the edges of the port. And you got to wipe down the intake, the NWP spacing kit, the lower one as well. Now mind you, these do fit up perfectly, so if it doesn't fit on one side or it looks like it doesn't line up, just try the opposite side because it'll probably line up there. So now the next thing too is what you want to do is you want to apply an even amount of RTV silicone to both sides of the Phenolic lower intake manifold spacer, just so pretty much that's going to keep all the leaks out. But you know, I'm going to keep it 100. If you apply too much, it will definitely squeeze out and obstruct the intake ports when you torque down the manifold bolt. So I just want you to keep that in mind, let you know what it is. And you know, just, you know, like I say, man, all you need is a consistent paper thin coating of RTV silicone, which is this right here. Thin coat, very thin. All right, so let's keep it moving. All right, so y'all can see we got them spacers on there. As y'all can clearly see that thick black on the back. So we got the spacers on there, we got them lined up. Again, you want that thin, paper thin application of the RTV. Now we're about to get ready to bolt it up. So now let's take a look. Once you get it back on and you're ready to bolt it down, right? What we need to do is get those 4 bolts for the rails back in there, but we need to get the 4 bolts and 8 screws or 8 nuts back in there. So it's looking, we're gonna bolt down the lower intake manifold. The first time we bolting it down, we're gonna do it for 4 to 7 foot-pounds. So we're gonna need a torque wrench. They got a specific numerical order to go in, and I will show you guys when I am bolting it down. Alright, so I got the bolts on, right? I got them back on here. I haven't tightened them down yet, but they're on there, as y'all can see. Haven't tightened them down just as yet. Let's see if you can see the bolt. Yeah, right down there. Haven't tightened them up just as yet. But just to give y'all that quick numerical order, just want to show y'all that pretty much how it's going is you're gonna go 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry about that. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's going to be our roundabout right now, just to give you that tighten it down pattern, how you're supposed to tighten it down once you get those lower intake gaskets in. So we're going to tighten it down, then we're going to get those 4 bolts back in there for the injector railing, get that tightened down, and let's get it going, baby. Let's start getting shit back together. Alright, so now we on to the next part of business. We hit the throttle body, got that taken off. Please don't wipe on the inside of here. That could possibly mess up the timing of the idle. You'll have to do the idle relearn procedure, but you might have to do it anyway since you took it off. But there we go. Just to take it off, I was able to use the helix joint to get that off. So see what's good. But yeah, throttle body off. We about to put the spacer on. Let's get it. Alright, so shaking, people. Got the intake manifold back on. Just need to wipe it down a little dirty. But as soon as you get that back bracket out, and again, you put your RTV silicone on both sides of your spacers. We're going to install the bolts though, right? But we're gonna do it in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how you're supposed to tighten it in that numerical order, I guess, for the proper torque. And the proper torque on that is supposed to be 13 to 15 foot-pounds. So just check that, make sure everything is good, double check it, want to give y'all the right info. So 13 to 15 foot-pounds, got that in already. Trusty torque wrench. And yeah, got the spacer in the back. So let's get the rest of this hooked up. Again, once you have everything put in and everything is tightened, good to go, you have to let your shit settle for at least an hour. At least an hour. Still got to put these hoses on in the back, but I'm gonna get to that in a second when I hook all this other stuff back up. So just remember though, give it that hour to sit, at least, bare minimum. You can't just install this and then pull off, because that's where some of the intake leaks come. So let me finish this up. I'll give y'all that finished product, baby. Alright, so we got that finished product. We done, back up the speed, spacing kit in, everything in reverse order of how it was disconnected. It got reconnected. I give y'all that startup in a hot minute. Just need to finish wiping a few things down, but I mean, for the most part, everything is back in order, baby. Definitely, definitely. So yeah, let me get y'all that startup, show y'all what it sound like.